Growing up, Betty was 12 years older than me, and Frank was 9 years older. Betty was like a stranger to me until we got married, and then we became very close, which I will tell you about later. But growing up with my brother was one of the most wonderful things that ever happened to me. I was friendly with other people, but he and I had something so close that I really never had with anybody else. Of course with Dave and my children, but other than that, we just were so simpatico. And a few interesting things happened. He took me once, when I was still quite little, to the circus. And my mother had bought me a new sweater, and she cautioned us, don't lose the sweater. And believe it or not, we lost the sweater, and we were afraid to come home. But of course we had to, and that was awful. Also, I remember when I used to have to dust the dining room and living room, and I didn't really like it. And my mother had some very pretty objects on the dining room buffet, and I had to be very careful. And one day, unfortunately, I broke one of them, which also was a very traumatic time. My mother had arthritis and it really bothered her a lot. So she used to go to a place in New York State called Sharon Springs. I went with her later, but before that, my father took her. And on one trip, she left Frank and I home, and we had a wonderful time playing records and whatever we were doing. And we didn't clean the house, and we didn't pick up. And unfortunately, my mother and father came home a day earlier than they were supposed to. We were going to clean up the day before they were supposed to come home. And they came, and everything was topsy-turvy. Also not a very good, happy time for us. My brother was interested, he and Betty were like strangers to each other because their interests were completely different. Betty was interested in clothes and her dates, and he was very interested in literature and music, and he introduced me to all the good things that I still love. He took me to my first play, to my first opera. In fact, we went to Boston to the opera in the truck because we didn't have a car at that time. And we saw Carmen, and we sat up in the balcony of the old opera house on the steps. We only got a standing room, but they allowed us to sit on the steps. And I remember even the name of the singer that played Carmen. Her name was Bruna Castagna. And it was the most wonderful thing. I can still remember the whole event. And as I said, he took me to my first play. I think it was with Margaret Sullivan. I forgot the name of it, but it was in two scenes on the stage, and she had to open the door and spit out a pit into a sink, I'm not sure which, but she opened the door and spit the pit out perfectly. And I still remember that, and she became my favorite actress for many, many years.
So now you're going to see your girlfriend. By the way, is it serious?
Yes, very.
Maybe we'll both be engaged Monday.
I think we will.
I don't want you to misunderstand me. I just said in my case it might happen.
Well, as a matter of fact, I can tell you it will happen.
Also, he took me to my first basketball game when he went to Tech. Worcester Tech was a very good school. Of course, They couldn't afford to send him out of the city at that point. He made very good friends with Al Gordon and Jack Sachs, and he joined the Jewish fraternity, A Pi, and he took me to one of their events, and he was just more than a brother to me, as close as could be.